And here we go. Probably see both of them make a mad dash to the black magic shop. Well, white first, and not too much useful in magic, it looks like, though. xIceblue going to pick up Quake. I'm sorry, Invis 2 is there. I didn't notice that the first time in the white magic shop. So not any of the big heavy hitter spells you would usually look for.
That's right, but Quake early on is still pretty accurate. Not many things resist AoE instant death spells in the beginning. Although it would be better if they were running, say, a black mage and a red mage, so you can get that double cast.
So we saw 3 out of 5 accuracy when xIceblue used it. A little bit better results for Joey. They get a multiplier on the experience, so it's 5 times plus 500, so easily the first few battles they'll be leveling up each time. Get our first look at the armor shop, and this is where the pro rings are at.
Arguably the best arm slot armor in the game. 8 defense helps you resist death element.
And if you're new to the randomizer but familiar with the vanilla game, one of the things you'll notice right now is that very lovely buy 10 option, which speeds up purchasing potions considerably. Also notice that the game moves quite a bit faster thanks to the conveniences, as they're called in the randomizer. That's helpful. And it looks like we might see both runners head straight up for the Temple of Fiends now. Now we saw both of these runners do some RNG manipulation earlier. Haven't seen them doing the saves before going in here, but it might just be too early in the game to worry about that.
I'm surprised they didn't save or pick up a cabin before going up to Temple of Fiends. You never know when you're going to run into something with Death Touch.
It can be a very unpleasant experience when you find that one thing that has it. So to put that in context, anyone who's played the vanilla game is familiar with the sorcerers and what a pain in the neck they are, and they hit you for 3 damage and all of a sudden you're dead. So they will probably not have that skill because it's been randomized. So somebody out there is going to have it, and you don't know who till you know. And if you're lucky, you never find out. So they're checking 3 chests in the Temple of Fiends before going on to fight Garland. Reason being, you have to find the TNT or the crown early. One of those 2 items is going to be necessary to progress the game. The most likely place it's going to be is in the Marsh Cave. However, almost anybody who's ever played this game would like to skip Marsh Cave if they can. So you have about 8 of these chests outside of Marsh Cave you can get to without the Mystic Key, and they're going to want to check every one of them. First look at Garland here. And Quake's going to take care of business with him.
It's always nice when bosses don't resist instant death spells.
So your great reward, you get a bridge and you get a musical instrument. xIceblue going to get to Garland just a few moments behind Joey. And Garland resists Quake 2 rounds in a row. And he's got Poison Touch.
Ice is going to lose, I would say, about a minute on this.
Which you hate every time loss you see, but 1 minute will not break you. You just always have to keep playing your game. We've certainly seen plenty of these races where somebody might think that they're significantly behind. They might even actually be in the lead, but you get all the way to that last dungeon and people catch right up. If anyone didn't see the matchup between these two earlier, this is how close it was. They were on the final boss at the same time. So now the Bridge of Text. And clearing that. You have two options at this point. You can go straight to Provoca to get the ship. You can go up to Mayoda's Cave. And there's 3 treasure chests up there you can open. Joey's going to go with the option of heading over to Provoca. So while we have a moment here, mention that Nightbot is nice in giving out the links here. The challenge website will also link you to the Discord, which we should see that link coming out periodically as well. Strongly advise everybody to sign up for the Discord if you're interested. This is the first randomizer tournament we've had, but there are plenty of randomizer races. You can jump in them several times a day, typically. There's Harm 4 in the White Magic shop at Provoca, and we're going to see a divergence in strategy early here. xIceblue decides to check on Mayoda's Cave, so we'll get a look there at those treasure chests.
I always like checking it early if there's cabins and tents available in Canaria. Just because what you find in that cave can definitely influence your strategy going forward.
That's very true. There's several items here that can really help you for a good stage of the game. There's the TNT. We find it in Mayoda's Cave, so I don't actually think it'll be long till we see Joey here. I think he's going to come back with the ship. But meanwhile, xIceblue gets our first progression item with the TNT. So let me ask you this. Have you ever gotten the TNT and still gone to Marsh Cave right away?
I have done it once when I was just kind of playing on autopilot, so to speak, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't need to be here. But since I'm here, let me check the top floor chests, and sure enough, the slab was in there.
Well, that's a case where it certainly worked out, and one of the important things to note is NPC items, as I like to call it, like the ship here, you get it from talking to an NPC. Those will always be in their same place. The treasures will be shuffled, so anything that's opened from a treasure chest can and probably will be in a different place. So for example, we didn't need the Mystic Key to be able to get the TNT in this seed. And there is the bottle for sale. They won't need that now, but they will need it later.
The Silver Sword, also a good pickup. With the vanilla weapon stats, that's a very good weapon to have early.
I have not had the occasion yet where I've had to carry Silver Sword all the way to the end, but it's kind of the bare minimum sword where I'd feel okay trying to do that. So xIceblue using the Fog 2 as the battle for the pirates begins, and he's there not far behind Joey. Joey's probably going to go up to Mayoda's here and get the TNT.
Yep, I think bare minimum is a good way to describe that. As far as early fighter weapons, what I tend to look for is what will put a dent in the things in the Volcano, and Silver Sword fits that build nicely, although I would love to see an Ice Sword early.
Now you might be thinking as a new runner, and as Joey gets the TNT here, how do you keep up with all the equipment in this game? Well, speaking for myself, not that I'm the best runner by any means, I'm not. I just like to memorize key items and know what can help me. So, like, knowing that Silver Sword will do a lot for me knowing Sun Sword is a great one for a red wizard. Knowing key items like that is where I like to start my approach in the game, and then expand my knowledge as I need to. So never be afraid of how much is in the game. Break it down to bite-sized pizzas, and you'll do all right. So Joey with the ship and the TNT, I imagine, will go to Dwarf Cave? Well, I'm wrong. He's going to go to Elfland first. Hank taking my bite-sized comment and bringing up pizzas. Hank, don't make all of us hungry. We really don't need that.
Oh, it's too late.
Is it ever too late for pizza?
No, you have a point. Here, let me mute my mic and call one in right now.
Well, you could just order online, then you wouldn't have to stop talking. There's an app for that.
I don't want you guys hearing the keyboard.
So we're going to get our first look at the magic here in Elfland. Not too much exciting Joey so far. We're almost step for step now. There's the exit. That's definitely a convenient spell they'll both want.
Yeah, and that's why I prefer going to Elfland first. If Exeter Warp are there, you save a fair amount of time on the walkout, and both of those spells are really valuable for clearing out the top treasure floor of the volcano.
And life also available here in Elfland. Certainly always a good one to have in the bank, as well as Cure 2. Bane was for sale. I don't think either runner got that, but Ice 2 was available, so that's the first AoE black magic damage spell we've seen.
So that'll be pretty useful in the volcano and against water elementals later on, but you're typically looking for something a little stronger, maybe one of the level 3 elemental spells, or Fade and Nuke if you get really fortunate.
One of those interesting things about when you get to Elfland is now you've seen 1/4 of the magic available to you in the game. When you think about it, there's 8 levels of spells. You're up to level 4 now. You have seen half of it. So we know that Nuke is not going to be in the first half. We know Life 2 is not going to be in the first half. And usually you're hoping to have those at a nice low level so that you get plenty of charges of them. So Nuke and Fade will be still sitting out there as high priority magic spells. By high priority, I mean we all want them. You're going to play without them whether you have it or not. RPG Chick pointing out that Bane has a pretty high chance of success at the beginning.
Yeah, I would say out of the AoE instant death spells, Bane is the best. It does get resisted by more monsters than, say, Zap, but it's a little more accurate, and it can hit Tiamat. That's always a bonus.
And to disrupt, you are correct that Quake is AoE. I was referring to one that will do damage numbers instead of trying to just auto-kill. Narek takes the TNT and unfortunately will never be heard from again. At least in this seed.
Cure 4 in the White Magic Shop in Melman.
Certainly a good find. And the level 3 element spells, so probably see that revisited maybe with the airship. When they have a little bit more funds available. Prices are shuffled, by the way. That's another point of worthy of note. So some of these things are pretty expensive for level 4, level 5 spells. But by the end of the game, you're going to see these runners with more money than they could ever possibly spend. So Joey's going to get his first look at Melmont as xIceblue. He is almost certainly going to head over to Crescent Lake and pick up the canoe. Oh, and Tempera is available here as well.
But roughly the same frustrated reaction to not having enough money for these spells from both runners.
So put yourself in a runner's shoe here. Are you more frustrated that you can't afford the spells yet, or that they're here in, as far as the early towns go, probably the most difficult to access easily, or quickly, I should say?
At this point, if I was running, I would just look at my money total and skip Melmoth altogether. Generally, things cost anywhere between 7 to 10k there, and with warp or with access to exit already, I wouldn't feel the need to fundraise outside of Melmoth.
And it is still an option to come back once you have the airship, and it's not quite as difficult to get to, or time-consuming, because they will be back over this way at some point to go to the Earth Cave.
And they'll be back in town to translate the slab, so...
Very true as well. Good question we see in the chat. When grinding the Agamas, what's the general level you stop at? And I'd say that very much is going to depend on the runner's individual strategy.
Yeah, I agree. What you would tend to do is think of how many levels you need to finish the game, and get close to that with the Agamas, because they're very efficient monsters in comparison to other enemies in the game. And
There's Fast for sale in Crescent Lake. That's certainly one I think we're going to see them come back for.
Ooh, that's a good pickup.
So to kind of finish elaborating on what you might see out of the grinding for the Agamas, the low end is probably 15. That's probably about the lowest I've seen anybody walk out of that room with. I'd say more average, if I were trying to pick up what 50% or so of the runners will do, is around 18 to 20. And then, on the other hand, we watched Minochi put up his personal best time after going there with solo black belt and grinding it to level 40. And he put up a time in that match of, I think it was 1 hour 45 minutes. So can definitely see some variation in strategy.
Yep, and it comes down to which of the two strategies you either prefer or are more comfortable with. Having a full party of roughly the same level, or having one hero and his supports, the black belt in the case of Minochi's power level.
Well, I should elaborate, because I noticed there was a comment in chat thinking I was saying that it was Minochi did a solo black belt for the whole run. He actually only leveled the black belt in there to 40. Everybody else he got to level 20. It was not a solo black belt strategy. It was just an over-leveled black belt strategy. So, just to clarify that point so I haven't misrepresented what Minochi did. But ultimately, we haven't seen one strategy for this randomizer in these round 1 flags just take charge and everybody's trying to do that same strategy. There's a variety that have worked and can work, and I think there is... I think ultimately what it comes down to as a runner is you have to have a strategy with the potential to work, and then you have to adapt it when things go wrong.
Yeah, and the diversity of strategies, or potential viable strategies, are what makes this very interesting. In fact, Miat did a double power level of 2 black belts and finished with a very impressive time in his race.
So Joey with the canoe is going to make his way up to the volcano. Do you have a preferred level you like to be going into the volcano?
I I tend to go anywhere between 10 to 15. What I'm looking for is when I can get my first warp or exit charge. That the chests that are at the end of sort of the windy maze-like passages in the volcano, instead of walking all the way back, it's much faster just to warp out.
Well, now I'd say we're seeing our first full-blown instances of Joey working the RNG manipulation strategy as he does some resets and extra walking around. As we get a look at the lava, you see the screen flashing and the noise made. If you're not familiar with this in Final Fantasy, you take damage while on the lava, so why would you walk on it? Because you won't have an encounter while you're walking on the lava. And Silver noting that Joey has skipped the first floor treasure chests, so makes me think Joey might be heading straight to the Agamas, do the level up first, and then go back and get the treasure. We'll see.
It's not a bad strategy. All of his characters are level 8 right now, and it's very treacherous on that top floor with Fire 2 Argoyles and instant death paralysis.
Well, now he'll take advantage of that stock of heals to recover all the hit points he lost on the lava. Okay, we're being asked about the team composition, and I believe that's a question about the vanilla, but I'll touch on what the randomizer flags involve as well. You have your choice of potential classes that you can make your characters out of. If I can remember everything from memory, hopefully. They are the fighter, the black belt, the white mage, the red mage, the black mage, and the thief. You can pick any of them you want for all four spots. I can talk, I promise. So, as you can see with Joey, he doubled up on the fighters, chose the white mage and the black mage. xIceblue, on the other hand, did 4 people of different classes altogether. So you can choose whatever party composition you want, with all the strengths and weaknesses of those choices. The dragon armor there for Joey. And this room you now see Joey in is one that's going to be very familiar throughout round 1 of this randomizer tournament, because on each of these 2 tiles adjacent to the treasure chests, they're trap tiles. They're always going to have an Agma fight on them. So there's not too much that you're going to see troll you from the Agmas. They can, but usually it's not bad. So it's a good place to grind a bunch of levels when you can get a guaranteed fight every step. The other thing I wanted to mention about the party compositions for this tournament is as we get into the deeper rounds, the rules are going to change a little bit. In this first round, they're able to pick anyone they want to for the party. In the second round, one of the party classes is going to be forced. They'll be able to choose 3, but one of them is going to be forced. In the third round, it's 2 forced. In the fourth round, to semifinals, it's 2 forced. In the semifinals, it's 3 forced. And in the finals, it's 4 forced. You won't get to choose your party composition. So you better have some comfort level with using everybody, because you just might have to. Okay, chat, as we're hearing people talk about the 4 white mage party, let's hear it. How many of you have actually done the 4 white mage challenge? Curious to know that, chat. Let's hear from you. So a good number of people have given it a shot. So for those who may be joining us in progress, just to recap, we have GentlemanJoey racing against xIceblue. This is their second matchup of the day. They raced a few hours ago. It was a very tight race, but xIceblue was able to win. They could shake hands or high five or whatever you want to call it in the Temple of Fiends. They were both on the final boss at the same time. But xIceblue got there a little faster and was able to complete and win the game. This is a best of 3 series, so Joey needs to win to stay alive. You see I guess those are golden Bahamut's underneath their screens, so it indicates that xIceblue won the first round. So Joey I have watched a few runs from, but this is the first time I've seen him adapt a double fighter strategy. As he gets to level 13 with his people. By dropping the one party member, it also has the advantage of giving more experience to everyone who's alive, as he's going to exit now. And he's doing this at just level 13, but this will let him restore all magic charges and hit points back to full. And after he completes his efforts to change the RNG, which I'll touch on that in a minute, he heads back in, and it looks like now we're going to see him go through the treasure chests, and I suspect, other than the Agma room, this will look like a normal clearing of the dungeon at this point. So he didn't go very high, only to level 13. So we've seen for both runners, they were able to get the TNT. No other major items. Well, they did get the loot, but no other plot required items at this stage. They've skipped the marsh caves so far because they weren't required to. Which isn't to say they might not have to go back, but for now, they weren't forced to, so they'll take advantage of that and proceed without it. The flame armor there will be a little bit better than the iron armor. I'll take a moment and mention there are several fights in the game that you are not able to run from. The ones you're most likely to see here are the fire elementals. They'll come up, they'll be the big dudes that just say fire for their name. You won't be able to run from those. And that'll be the most likely one you run into, because they'll be guarding chests along the way.
It looks like I've gotten back just in time to see an early Mazmune.
Always a nice early find. It's not required, but it sure is useful.
Oh, it really makes the grind fly by. And it's useful for any strategy, with even the black belt being able to equip it.
Every class in the game able to equip the Mazmune, so right down to the black mage, who you would think would be the least likely to be able to equip a weapon. Every single person in the game can equip it. So of course, where do they give it to you in the normal game?
Very last chest.
Yeah. So xIceblue has his black mage go down. And now we might see him do just a couple levels on his Zagmas. I don't think we'll see him do too many.
Some of the viewers may have noticed that both players have elected to take four 4 times Pede fights, and that's because they're extremely good for experience early on. Clearing out that formation gives you roughly 2 Agamas worth of experience.
Yeah, anytime you can get that much experience, it's a pretty good haul. So there's a lot of treasure chests in here in which you hope to find one of the major items. Usually I think the one I'm hoping for most in here is the floater. How about yourself?
I like seeing either the floater or the ruby in here. The ruby allowing me to clear out another fiend dungeon without having to check any of the optional areas.
So let's elaborate on the optional areas, since this is a good time. I mentioned they have not been to the Marsh Cave. The other places that they can go will include Castle Ordeals, the Ice Cave, the Marsh Cave, and am I forgetting one? Because it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm not at 100%. But
for a very little bit, the Titan's Cave, but most runners check that just because it's so convenient to do so.
yes, it is. The Ice Cave and Castle Ordeals in Round 1 are not incentivized by the randomizer. What that means is it's not forcing one of the important items into the treasure chests in those places. They just have the same chance that everywhere else does. So the advantage of checking required dungeons like the Volcano and the Earth Cave is if your required items are there, you never have to go to the other places. Whereas if you go to the other places and they don't have them, you're still going to have to come back to the required dungeons and full clear them anyways. That said, you'll still also see runners who will go to the Ice Cave from here because it's closer than sailing back over to the Earth Cave, and they'll take their chances. As Joey's going to exit again and go back into the Volcano for a third trip.
Has Joey found the Mazmoon yet?
I don't think he did. But I think part of his leaving was to keep with the RNG manipulation, and when he's able to walk by the treasure chests that he already opened, it keeps his step count down. Chad is telling me they do think Joey got the Masamune. And Sirius, no, I cannot make you check every dungeon. You are certainly free to do that. And XIceblue on the Red Dragon, so it looks like we're about to see our first Fiend of the Elements in this run.
Well, that Red Dragon got some very nice evade rolls. Mazmoon hit for 1 hit for 63 damage. Allowed that second blaze to go off, which killed the White Mage.
Well, never fun to be without your White Mage, but at this point with the Masamune, I think the fighter in Black Belt at level 20 will be able to clear. And he should have a nice healthy stock of heal potions to restore hit points before going in to fight Carrie.
Carrie can be pretty frightening, even at level 20, but both characters, both of his characters are equipped with pretty good armor, I believe, so it'll take a couple of hits to get them down.
xIceblue gonna make a formation change to put that Masamune in the last slot. Carrie gonna melee for just over 100 damage. And she goes for that Masamune twice in a row. But she will fall to the Masamune and Black Belt. xIceblue will restore our first orb. As Joey now is about to head to the Red Dragon. And xIceblue's gone back into the volcano. I guess there was treasure that he didn't pick up yet. Maybe he took a pass on those while he was at the lower level, and now that he's up in levels a little bit, he decides to come in and clear them when it's not as difficult. With the game fixes that are in the randomizer, your chance to run is different than it is in the vanilla. So it's based on your level and on your luck, so as he's trying to avoid fights that aren't worth fighting, having those extra couple of levels makes it easier to get away.
Now looks like the Red Dragon has taken out both of Joey's mages. But with Sunsword and Masamune in tow, he should be able to make his way out just fine. Those long and windy corridors that Ice is walking through right now is exactly why I prefer to have exit available. But he made the smart decision to check those anyway and then reset if he didn't find anything good, which is just as good as having exit.
And very important, you don't want to miss treasure chests like this when you're still missing an item, because the worst feeling is to leave here, get down to the end, you're still missing that one one major item that's required to progress, and then you look back at the treasure chests you skipped and you have to go back to somewhere. That is the longest trip you can make.
Early in my randomizer career, I used to skip that chest at the end of the winding path until the crown showed up there in one seed, and I lost by a lot.
You hope you're never going to be in that position, but you just always have to remember when you're playing this that every chest basically has the same chance of having a significant item in it. So whether required or not, that chest might also have the Opal Bracelet, it might have the Masamune, it might have all kinds of stuff that can help you. So Joey's going to head back to Crescent Lake. And having not found the floater, the question is, what will he decide looks good to do next?
Well, I suspect that both of the runners will check the ice cave. I have the feeling with how smoothly the grind went for both sides that they probably feel like they're in the lead and don't need to gamble.
Well, I don't know how much of the VOD from the earlier race either of them had the chance to see, because again, these two just raced only a few hours ago. But they're well aware of the fact they were on the final boss at the same time. And that did not involve any deaths in Temple of Fiends where somebody got there first. They just were that close, running all the way. So I don't think either one of them will take anything for granted. You just maybe feel comfortable about how your strategy has worked so far. Joey's going to pick up the fast. Very useful spell. And xIceblue making the trek to the ice cave. Not one of my favorite dungeons in the vanilla.
It's the not-so-nice cave in vanilla. Actually made a little bit easier by the randomizer with sorcerers no longer having death touch most of the time.
Still some things that can ambush you, and a few things you won't be able to run from. For example, if you see a mix of the frost giants and the frost wolves, that will be an unrunnable party.
The mages are the thing that frighten me the most in the ice cave with their high ambush rate and access to powerful spells.
And spells are not shuffled in this first round, so they do have rub and could just take you out in one shot.
And failing that, there's always a nice lit 3 to drop on your party, costing you a minute and a half as you heal everybody back up to full.
If your mages live through it. So plenty can go wrong.
And in fact, Ice is about to see that fight right now, so we'll see how it goes.
This is a trap tile, so this fight will be here every time. And just for a silver gauntlet. And there's the slab.
Ooh, that's interesting. Not quite what they were looking for yet, but usually one of the last key items that you pick up.
Absolutely required to be able to finish the game, so both runners will be very happy that they came in here and found it. And the crown.
Oh, well.
Well, I said they would be happy before. They'll be ecstatic now that they came to the ice cave.
It was definitely the right play.
And we're not done. There could be something else in here.
And we have yet to see what the eye is guarding.
This is true. So the other thing that this opens up is now the floater could be behind one of the Mystic Key locked doors. Obviously not sitting on the ground, but in one of the treasure chests.
Yeah, with access to the crown now, that opens up a lot of chests which are a little easier to get to than chests in dungeons, so I wouldn't be surprised if the next move for Ice would be to sail over to Astos and punch him in the face.
Which is a little bit easier to do with the canoe, by the way, because there's a couple of rivers up by the cave you might not take notice of in the vanilla game, but when you're in the randomizer, you can park the ship right there, and that's a pretty nice feeling instead of a long walk. Joey's going to get in there against the mages now. He's taking advantage of all that silver gear to equip his fighters. It's one of the reasons you bring them is you want somebody to be able to absorb a lot of damage, as now Joey gets the slab. So does your heart stop a little bit when you see those mages casting rub?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's headed right towards the one person that can resurrect the rest of the party. Just, you can kill everyone else, just please leave the white mage out of it.
So xIceblue now gonna fight the eye and then check the last treasure chest in this dungeon. as Joey's going to pick up the crown.
Be interesting to see if Ice decides to stick around and get a few levels. He does not. As far as grind spots go, the Eye is another premier spot, although less so in this round of flags because he still has access to a lot of nasty abilities.
So both runners have picked up major items at this point, but still will need the floater to open up the rest of the map. And we'll possibly see some routing differences as they decide what they want where they want to go to next. Joey's still going to clear out the ice cave. So now we're going to start to see what xIceblue is thinking. And based on the direction he's going, I think he's going to park at that river and go right to see our favorite dark elf in disguise.
Oh no, what a twist. Who could have seen this coming?
Fun fact, you actually get the crystal before the fight.
Oh, I did not know that.
Well, you get the sound effect for it at least. So I just assume nothing happens after the fight.
It would make sense. If you die, it doesn't matter that you have it.
This is true. So Azto's able to use that rub successfully. xIceblue now has the crystal, and we'll probably stop at the town here and revive the white mage. And we'll do that beforehand, before heading up to Mayo's. Actually, I'm going to sell some things off for money.
A full set of pro rings for the party is always welcome.
Joey's still working through the ice cave here.
Pro capes are also a nice item. Saw one in Ice's inventory. 8 defense that goes in the shield slot and can be equipped by anyone except for the Black Belt Master. Every little bit helps when your mages are trying to weather 8 hits from Kraken 2.
Helps, but nothing is perfect. So Joey's going to get his first look at the eye. And xIceblue's going to pick up the crystal. I'm sorry, gives the crystal to get the herb. Czar, the slab and crown were both in the ice cave.
The crown was guarded by the frost dragons.
So xIceblue is going to head down and see about waking up this nice guy that they say is a prince among elves. And in return for waking him up from his nap, he'll hand over the mystic key. He exits. Okay.
It's a little quicker than walking out and walking back in, but he didn't step forward. He stepped to the side and had to leave town.
I can see that. Just caught me a little off guard.
It's a little optimizations here and there, but with Exit being in a slot where he has 6 casts of it, he can be pretty free with it.
So there's certain chests you usually see runners go to as soon as they get the Mystic Key. And obviously you check the castle at Elf because it's right there. You come up here because there's 6 and no encounters. Likely we'll head over to Dwarf next.
I'd be curious to see if he goes to Dwarf or if... Yep. So he's going to leave the Temple of Fiends chests unchecked for now.
That's a good point. 3 chests there, I believe?
Yep.
So if he's still missing the floater after checking Dwarf and... What's the proper name for Astos' castle?
In the original strategy guide, it's called the Northwest Castle, but I've seen it referred to a lot of different ways.
Fair enough. Well, Chad is saying Northwest Castle, so we'll go with that. Beef Curry, to answer your question, they have not been in the Marsh Cave yet. They may need to, because that may be where the floater is, but so far they've been able to skip it, and that'll probably be the last place they go. So I imagine from here, if xIceblue still doesn't have it, he does get the white shirt, which is a useful item, and a ribbon. And the ice sword. So that was not a bad room at all.
Meanwhile, Joey's getting rocked in ordeals.
That stone is a very unpleasant spell, and oh my, he only has 2 softs. So he'll have to run the rest of this and just hope. So I believe xIceblue will head down back to the Northwest Castle to check the 3 treasure chests there. If that doesn't work, then it's either Marsh Cave or back to Temple of Fiends.
There's always Earth Cave as well.
It's true.
Earth Cave feels bad to do because even though there's 16 chests, you can't make it to the end without either the floater or the ruby. You need that rod to proceed to the 4th floor.
And based on the walking, it looks to me like xIceblue is going for the Marsh Cave. So we will get our first look at that shortly. We should note that the pillars for ordeals are not randomized in this first round. However, they will be in later rounds. Joey picks up a ribbon. It's the second one we've seen.
So each player now has one, and if this doesn't pay out, it's likely that Joey will find the other one.
So chat saying that Joey missed a treasure chest, but based on what he just did, I think he skipped the one that would normally have the Zeus gauntlet, which is actually mirrored. You can open that in one of 2 places, and I think he just opened it in the other one as a time save.
Yeah, it's interesting that in the original Final Fantasy, there are some chests that are linked, so when you open one in a dungeon, it will render another one empty. The Marsh Cave is the prime example of this, with many of its empty chests referring to either chests on the top floor or chests on the same floor.
We see xIceblue going for the first chests in the Marsh Cave. I didn't see what he got out of the first one. Looks like just money out of the others. And I guess he will take advantage of exit to get out of there. It's faster than walking back, so why not? Joey also used exit rather than fight the zombie dragons at Castle Ordeals. And he did not start... he did not visit Astos yet, did he? Joey, that is.
He has not, so likely headed there right now. Question in chat, floater has to be in Marsh or Earth Cave. It could also be in the 3 locked chests in Temple of Fiends that neither player has checked yet.
And we'll see if Joey uses the same route that xIceblue did, or if he goes to the Temple of Fiends and checks those 3. An alternate strat that we've seen used is for people to save back at town, walk up to the temple. If the chests don't check out, they can just reset and don't have to walk back. xIceblue gets a good roll on the wizard fights, only 2 of them, but his levels are significant enough that they're not really going to be a concern. Oh, plus he has mouse immune, there is that as well. Joey does not have the Mystic Key yet, so he could not check the chests in Astos' castle to answer that question. xIceblue did check the 3 chests. Joey is now working on the Mystic Key. And these gargoyles being a little bit stubborn for xIceblue, but now he gets out of there. And xIceblue finds another ribbon, his 2nd. Two's got to leave you feeling pretty good. You'd obviously love to get all 3, but if you get 2 ribbons, that's a pretty good seed there for that aspect.
Yeah, and especially you can usually get a fair amount of resistances on a fighter with, say, Pro Ring, Flame Armor, and Ice Shield. But you can get even more immunity with the Dragon Armor that they've found if you can find the tail.
So xIceblue now down to the bottom level of the Marsh Cave, which has these rooms we often don't go into in the randomizer because they are locked by the Mystic Key. So you would have to come back to it with the key, which usually if you are in the Marsh Cave, it's before you would have the crown. That one room, just because they could, locked by the Mystic Key with no treasure inside of it. Fun fact you might not know from the vanilla game, if you examine the doors, it will always tell you that this door is locked by the Mystic Key, even when you have it. So if you have 2 spaces where you can walk into it instead of just walking through it, you can examine it even when you have the key and see the same message as when it's blocked. Random trivia. It's midnight. Gotta come up with something. So Joey finishes checking the chests in Elf. And the defense was in Marsh Cave.
Good find, but not really what they're looking for. And now Ice has a decision to make. Does he check the 3 easy chests where we presume the floater could be, or does he head to Earth or Ordeals?
I think his ship is over on the left side, so that'll technically make Earth Cave closer. The advantage to Earth Cave, more treasure chests, and you have to clear the dungeon anyways. Are there any key doors post-TNT in vanilla? That is an excellent question. In fact, there are 2 of them. And Artea is correct that there is one in the Sea Shrine, and there is one in the Temple of Fiends, and it's that one in the Temple of Fiends that can really get you, because you will not be able to beat the game unless you can open that door. It was an interesting design choice, but I assume they were already aware of sequence breaks, so they put a little insurance in to make sure you had to do the whole game, but as best they could. That one in the sea shrine is a fun surprise when you find out about it for the first time. So meanwhile, Joey did opt to come to Temple of Fiends and check the 2 locked rooms here. So great example of going different strategies, and we'll see if one of them pays off. Well, obviously one of them is going to end up being... Well, no, don't get ahead of myself. They could both actually be to an advantage, but it's not going to be the case with Temple of Fiends. Nothing of value there, so Joey's going to have to sail to the Earth Cave. Actually, Joey hasn't been to the Marsh Cave, so that is an option as well. And chat noticing that the background is changing. They're doing that to reflect the locations that the runners are at, so it's especially helpful if they're in a fight. You can quickly look at the background and see where they're at, so it's one of the extra efforts they've gone to try and make this randomizer tournament as good as possible. Joey enters the dwarf cave. And it's a great big room full of treasure here. So Flutter was in Earth Cave, xIceblue able to pick that up, and he's going to waste no time going to get the airship. And I would suspect we'll see Joey go to Earth Cave before Marsh. Can't be sure, of course, but I think faced with those 2 options, that's probably the more likely one.
And Ice has to feel pretty comfortable at this point with going into go mode. He doesn't really need much else as far as equipment goes.
We did see the bottle for sale earlier, didn't we? Was it at Provoca?
I don't remember, but we're about to see it. I would be very surprised if Ice didn't head for it. Yep, looks like that's where he's going.
It was definitely one of these early cities. I remember noticing it, and that will be the necessary item for unlocking the Sea Shrine. You have the option to let the fairy out anywhere you want. You can let her out right away. You can walk all the way to her pond first and then let her out. It's entirely your choice, but she'll end up in the same place. And xIceblue taking advantage of that airship to traverse the world much more quickly. And he's going to pick up the rod from Sadra the Sage. Why Sadra would keep such an important item all the way over here, I have no idea.
He just doesn't like people. The city is too crowded. Another convenience of the randomizer is that you can get the rod early. Normally you would have to defeat the vampire. But in this instance, you can clear the Earth Cave in one go, which is very nice when you're trying to go quickly.
And with Joey's fighters locked up as stone, it's probably a good time to mention that with the randomizer, it'll always place softs and pures back at the very first item shop of the game. Not that they'll be the only ones that have it by any stretch, but you'll always be able to find those in the first item shop to make sure you always have access to them when you might need them, because At the beginning of the game, that's the only one you can get to, and if something has stone, you're in a bad position. Someone in chat pointing out, and this is a valid point, Ice went through Marsh Cave first before he found the floater in Earth Cave, so in his mind he might actually be behind.
I'd be interested to ask him after the race if he thinks he's behind. One of the benefits of perhaps studying the other runners is getting to know their typical routes, and if you find something in an out-of-the-way area and you know that they tend not to check it, it gives you a sense of where you are in the race. So knowing your opponent can definitely be an advantage at times.
So based on where Joey is in the world, it looks like he plans to skip Marsh and go right to the Earth Cave. He'll translate the slab. Not a bad idea to get it out of the way so you don't forget. And this is a rematch between these two. They faced each other earlier tonight. xIceblue was the winner of that. It's a best-of-3 series, so if xIceblue wins, he advances in the winner's bracket. He'll become, I believe, our 4th person to advance in the tournament, if he wins. And Joey needs to win this to force a Game 3. So it looks like very soon we'll have both runners in the Earth Cave. And xIceblue about to give us our first look at Lich.
Gets a nice friendly bat, decides to step to the side instead of walking right into his path.
And yes, I do say that the slab gets translated because what else would he need a rock for to teach you a language? So, in my mind, that's the only thing that makes sense. Just for the record. As Joey will now pick up the floater. Now, will he finish the ice cave, or will he go get the airship? And it looks like he's thinking airship.
It's a good idea by Joey to burn some cabins in this area. The shadow encounter is very common in this location, and with a factor of 90 in the ambush rate, you almost have no hope of not getting ambushed in that fight.
And while I'm no expert on how to change the RNG in this game, what I do know for sure is when you are loaded, the game has already decided how many steps it'll take till you're getting your next fight, and it won't change. So if you walk left, if you walk right, if you walk up, you walk down, it won't change. You're going to get a fight in the same number of steps. But if you save and restart your system, restart your game, that's the one thing that'll change it. So when you see them doing these frequent resets, this is why. They're changing it to make sure they're getting something different because they didn't like what they got the first time. Joey flew by the Marsh Cave. Decided not to go in it. And he's going to check Titan's Cave. I don't remember if we saw xIceblue check these treasure chests.
I think by the time he got in floater, he was in go mode. I think RPG Chick noted in chat that with Masmuin white shirt and 2 ribbons, there's not really much of an incentive to open many chests.
So small differences can end up being big differences. And just simple choices about where you go from point A to point B. That is going from B. I can talk, I promise. It's just like choosing this dungeon instead of that dungeon can make all the difference. So Joey opted to go up to Castle Ordeals. He got some useful items, but he didn't get any required items. xIceblue skipped Ordeals and ended up finding the items he needed sooner. We'll see how much that affects things when we get to the end of the game. Joey finds the heal staff.
I selecting to take this fight, and it's pretty solid as far as experience goes.
So just to throw this out there, one of the things to me that has been so impressive about the tournament so far is just how many close battles we have seen between runners. Even when they weren't necessarily quote-unquote expected, we have seen runner after runner really bring their best effort to this tournament and consistently seen good times, good efforts put up by everyone. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and I think it's going to continue to be a lot of fun to watch as we go further and further on.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm also enjoying watching some of the newer players grow and get better and better at the game. We saw Minochi successfully pull off a power level strategy and delivered a very impressive time when I believe getting a PB by almost 15 minutes. So,
yeah, that was I was part of the commentary on that race, and it was very interesting. Both runners actually posted a PB in that race. It was their best round 1 flag, but Minochi just put up one whale of an effort. And I said earlier when he won his race today that he is... Was it today? Was it yesterday? I'm sorry. It's late. Or after midnight anyways. Whenever Minochi won in advance, I said he has really thrown down the gauntlet and declared himself a contender in this. And with the new runners, just because they're new does not mean there's any lack of skill there. In fact, we've seen several of them be regular grinders, putting in a lot of runs. There are usually multiple tournaments, not tournaments, but races with the randomizer going on daily. So great idea to join the Discord if you haven't already. Don't worry about it. Everybody's friendly, I promise. I promise that most of them are friendly. No. It's a great community. You'll have a lot of fun. Don't be afraid of asking any question. We've all asked questions. We've all needed answers from somebody. You can get a lot of help. You can get into a lot of races. And if you want to get good at the randomizer, that's really over half the battle is just playing a lot of races.
And Czar, our tournament administrator, just posted a link to the FFR Discord. So if you enjoy what you're seeing here and want to give it a shot, by all means, join that Discord and you can get started right away.
So Joey works on the Earth Cave while xIceblue is underwater. Don't you wish you had a magic item to just let you breathe underwater like it's nothing?
I think even if I had that item, it would. I'd be too afraid to even try it. It just seems like it would. Just seems like it would freak me out trying to breathe underwater.
It would kind of require a bit of a leap of faith if somebody said, "Here, all you got to do is take this and jump in the deepest thing of water you can find, and you'll be able to breathe. No problem." So xIceblue finding an unrunnable fight here because of the mix with the wizards and the reds. He'll tell him to chill out so he can move on.
Yeah, one of the downsides of the Sea Shrine is just the sheer amount of unrunnable battles that you encounter. I believe this floor is about 35% of the encounters that you get you can't run from, and that's just going to eat a fair amount of time.
Meanwhile, Joey is going to get by Lich, light up his second orb. And if you're just going by orb count, then our runners are now tied. Although Ice is soon going to restore his third.
And it looks like Ice is electing to take these Gray Shark fights, and they're very good on experience as well. Clearing this formation out is equivalent to 2 Agamas. Very efficient.
So he is back in Provoca. And looks like he wanted to complete some armor. Now he's going to pick up the bottle and set the fairy free. Let's also take a moment to thank Speed Gaming for hosting this matchup in the tournament. They've given us a lot of time to present the randomizer, and we certainly want to show our gratitude for that.
Yeah, Fiesel's been putting in a tremendous amount of work for our community, and we're very appreciative of everything that he's done.
So now Joey is going to go visit the fairy. Neither runner having found the tail probably will not see class change in this seed, it's likely. As in, I'm about 99% sure at this point.
Yeah, there aren't very many convenient chests to check on the way at this point. Unless Ice decides to check the Cardia Islands, I don't think there's any easy chests left.
So our first look at Kraken. He uses ink, which is probably everybody's favorite thing to see him do. Because it means he didn't kill anything. xIceblue, on the other hand, will happily kill Kraken and move on. But Joey does find the tail. It's in the islands, so will get the class change.
Looks like he's demonstrating his bravery by stealing from a bunch of dragons.
He's not stealing, they're giving it to him. It's consensual.
Oh. Then why do they get in your way all the time?
Same reason the bats do.
They're just overly friendly.
Yeah, they want a hug. You ever met a dragon who didn't want a hug?
Can't say I've ever met a dragon.
There you go.
Actually, that's not true. I can think of one dragon that didn't want a hug, but he's big and red and lives in Elfland.
So ice over here to get the chime. I've always wondered how a supposedly advanced civilization that builds a floating castle off in space lives in the most backwards town in the world and can't talk to anybody. No item shop, no nothing. They've just got those 2 magic spells. 2 little magic shops. So I also wonder if we'll now see Joey revisit some of the magic shops to take advantage of the class changes. He finds the Zeus Gauntlet. It looks like he maybe paused for a moment to think about what he has, what he doesn't have, and where he wants to go. I don't believe he's been to the Waterfall yet. We don't have him with the cube.
We had a brief Tyro sighting from xIceblue, but he's in go mode.
And a nice thing about really the final 2 Fiend dungeons here in the regular world, the Mirage Tower, Sky Castle, the Sea Shrine, they're actually very quick to get through if you don't need any of the treasure.
Oh, bad luck for Joey getting a rare unrunnable encounter outside of Onrak.
We'll see him make his way up to the waterfall to get the cube. And soon we'll see xIceblue against the Blue Dragon. Jake Hoper is asking what level is xIceblue. I believe he's in the 23 to 25 range with this party.
With his mages dying to that red D, there's a little bit of an imbalance. So the mages are in the low 20s, and yeah, just in that brief menuing I saw the fighter was 24, and I believe the black belt is as well.
Yeah, I don't believe either of them have died, so it would make sense they're on the same level. So xIceblue gonna climb through here. Chat, place your bets. Place your bets. Will this be a Warmech seed? You're gonna see xIceblue find Warmech. We saw him in the race prior to this, and in fact, we had our first Warmech killed of the tournament. I don't think we'll see xIceblue actually fight Warmech, but do you think we will see Warmech?
Got a Geyer sub in chat noting that Out of Bounds Bat has blessed this run.
About 4 friendly bats in the game. That's nice to have a few of them there. And looks like xIceblue wants to take another fight on this floor. He'll get an eye. So we're being asked what a war mat is. Well, I think they mean Warmech. But Warmech is pain. I think that's the most accurate description.
That's a very good description. He is a giant death robot that has the ability to level your party very quickly if you're not prepared for him. Terrifyingly high physical attack stat, has access to nuclear, which does a large amount of non-elemental damage to your party. So all around a very nasty guy. And oh yeah, tends to ambush you too.
If I'm not mistaken, in vanilla, he has either the same hit points as Chaos or very close to it. So, put that in perspective. He's got at least close to end game boss hit points.
Black Mage goes down, but gets picked up fairly quickly by the White Mage. I feel like Ice is playing it a little risky here by not healing his White Mage.
Okay, I'm being told in chat that I'm wrong, that Chaos has 2k and Warmac has 1k, so I apologize. It's still one of the highest hit points in the game. So Joey's going to work on going through the Sea Shrine now. The one thing he does have going for him is if he's not open treasure chests, this is actually not that long to get through. The path from staircase to staircase is not bad, but when you have to walk off to the other treasure chests, it becomes quite a bit more time consuming.
Oh, and this is a bad formation to get ambushed by.
Yeah, every single one of those sorcerers can cast trance, stun your party, and he could be here for a while.
Yeah, trance is particularly treacherous because it likes going through ribbons, as it has no element associated with it.
Makes you really miss Nuke at this point. Or Fade, or anything else that would be great, but it looks like Ice 3 is going to get the job done. Just had to leave the one alive.
It's a good decision by him to thin out that sorcerer party, though.
We were talking about pizzas earlier. Now I see chats on nachos. What's with the food talk?
I wouldn't want to eat any of those nachos. They look like they've been left out for too long.
I'm not sure they were made of the highest quality ingredients either. So Tiamat. I don't think they have Bane to even consider that strategy.
But with a fasted up Mass Moon wielder, they can get through Tiamat fairly easily.
Yeah, I don't think either runner will be too concerned when they get here. Probably one more good hit to Tiamat to do it.
There's a question earlier in chat. Did they buff the black belt in the randomizer? They did not. The black belt needs no buffing. He is just ridiculously powerful when at the later game. The more levels you feed him, the more terrifying he becomes.
And xIceblue has restored the 4th orb. So it looks like he's low on Pures. I imagine we'll see a shopping trip before going to the Temple of Fiends. And Joey shouldn't be too far off from getting to Kraken.
And I see he didn't intend to kill the Tyro, just bonk him over the head and run away.
xIceblue gonna stop in town here, head straight to the item shop, and get his provisions ready for a trip 2,000 years in the past. So we're looking at about a 1:30 entry into the past. That's more than a respectable time. It's a very good time. Ice working on the RNG manipulation for the temple. To kind of go back to the black belt question, the other thing that's worth noting is the black belt gets more powerful, like you said, the more levels that you feed him. Well, you combine that with what we have in the randomizer with the bonus experience, and you're probably beating the game at a higher level than you would in the vanilla. So you start to see more out of the black belt than you might have in a vanilla playthrough. So we're seeing the RNG manipulation stats here from xIceblue. Joey does them as well, so this is a very even matchup in that regard, but this will be the only round that is enabled for. So once we get into the later rounds, you won't see runners using this strategy anymore. And if you have any questions about the randomizer, what it involves, don't be afraid to ask in chat. Also, don't be afraid to just go ahead and get the randomizer. Join us in the Discord, and we'll be happy to answer questions there as well as you think of them. Try it out for yourself. You can see what the round 1 flags are. You can try the same rules that these runners are playing under and see how you do. I do that myself most afternoons, and I run quite a bit slower, which is why I'm on this side of the instead of the other one. So Joey is on his way to pick up the chimes so he can get into the Mirage Tower.
With the RNG manipulation, Ice has successfully skipped the gas dragon fight on this floor. Those dragons are one of the more annoying enemies with a very powerful AoE spell and a lot of hit points.
Yeah, as someone who has not learned RNG manipulation, that's a very good incentive too. So some of the things that are being shuffled, enemy stats is one of the most relevant things at this point. So they could be a little bit weaker than normal, they could be quite a bit stronger than normal. Their magic looks very weird because they were shuffled in shops. So something like Fire 2 or Lightning 3, which would be available relatively early in the game, they were in later shops. They weren't as accessible, so you don't see that full roster of magic that you normally would, which can definitely change the playing experience. Trying to think if there's anything else that really stands out as being randomized. The treasure chest location. The treasure chests themselves didn't move, but their contents were randomized. So things were in different places than you're used to, which can change where you have to go to find things. And there'll be even more changes as the rounds advance in this tournament, so strongly advise checking out the Discord, and you can find out a lot more information about the randomizer than I just covered.
Yeah, in the later rounds, things can get particularly treacherous. You can have the very first enemies you run into in the game casting AoE elemental spells, and it's an interesting puzzle to try to figure out how to escape, basically escape with your life and finish the first part of the game.
So xIceblue left the temple, and he's going to have to go back in. And Joey is checking these treasure chests. I don't know if maybe he's looking for another ribbon. Because I think he just has the one. He does like the ice shield, and he likes to get that for a little bit better defense. The opal helmet, I imagine, he will go back for instead of a silver. It's an interesting choice to come down here and check these treasures, but he likes to make sure his defense is pretty solid going in to Temple of Fiends Revisited. And depending on what kind of bosses we roll, that could be very valuable. By the way, I'll also say thank you to Edge for jumping in here and sticking out the night shift with me. You were a late addition to the crew.
Yeah, no problem. I was worried that I wouldn't make it here, but my Dragon Warrior randomizer race went a little better than expected, and managed to wrap up just in time.
XIceblue back to the Phantom here. For some reason, the musical instrument breaks the plate that nothing else can move, and he advances in the dungeon.
I mean, you just give it the old El Kabong and smash the plate with it.
Okay, chat, I have to know, how many of you know the El Kabong reference? I really have to know the answer to that question. I love it. But I gotta know who else gets that reference. The worms here for xIceblue is unrunnable. So he will have to kill them. Fair number of people getting the El Kabong reference. The things that entertain you after midnight. Good old Quick Draw McGraw, he had a simple solution to so many problems. Drop a guitar on the bad guy's head. Surprisingly effective. And XIceblue getting ready to see Lich. And Joey's still checking treasure chests here in the air castle.
Interesting that he put his Black Mage in the front row. I wonder if he was hoping that a glance would petrify him. But with the Mage in the front row, you have significantly less initiative, and so that's why you see an ambush here where a lot of times you normally wouldn't.
So Joey now on the longest walk of the game. Second longest if you did something wrong and you have to go back, but otherwise this is the longest walk in the game. And I don't mean number of steps. It just feels that way. XIceblue getting the unrunnable fires.
It's certainly better to get the unrunnables on this floor rather than the next floor. The 6 water encounter is one of the nastier ones that you can see on the way down.
And I do believe more unrunnable encounters on the water floor than any of the other. He'll restore his Black Mage for the fight with Carrie. Carrie putting a hurt onto Jin, but that's probably exactly why Jin is there. Keep that from going to the White Mage or anything else. A couple of people gain levels off the fight. Zara pointing out that Moss-Immune cuts many things. I concur. Joey now against Tiamat. This Tiamat one, of course, is he's working to get his last orb restored. So not that Joey knows where he stands right now, but basically his hope is that between Kraken here and Tiamat on the next floor, that xIceblue is going to run into a gatekeeper. One of these that is just really a nightmare to get by, and he's going to be better equipped to fight it than xIceblue.
Lead off Lit 2 from Kraken is definitely welcome, though. Out of Kraken's many options, as long as he doesn't hit you, you'll take pretty much anything else.
And now fast on the Masamune. It does hit many bosses very hard. Calamari now available in the Temple of Fiends. Joey also restoring his 4th Light Warrior's Orb. And he'll get to make his way over to the Temple of Fiends.
Running into a pack of sorcerers, and I think these guys are sufficiently annoying enough to route out, so Ice and I have talked about this, and just the fact that Trance will go through a ribbon is more than enough reason for me to take a fight on the water floor if I'm doing RNG manip.
And just because of where you are, you really have no choice here but to wait this out. If this were on the first floor, reset, try do something different. But being that you've already gotten through Kraken, you just have to take whatever you can get. He'll try to run with everyone instead of casting a spell. And we see the MS Paint strats.
Some more MS Paint adventures. Surprised he didn't throw another Ice 2 out just to thin the pack.
Don't know if maybe he's trying to save a little for Chaos, or if he just thought best bet is to get away, so I'll just try and run. His best chance to get away would be with his black belt and his fighter, because the level helps your chances, but now he's going to take a couple of them out. And Joey's about to head to the past.
Well, Ice certainly seems stuck, but he's thinning him out 2 at a time, and a little bit less of a threat at this point.
And he just attacks that round, so now we'll definitely see the clear. Makes you very glad those sorcerers didn't have Death Touch, as Chad is pointing out. Now we'll see Tiamat. Round 2.
And Bane can be pretty scary, as even with a ribbon it has a small chance of going through, but party manages to make it out of the poison smoke okay.
That looked like a pretty low damage hit. Have we got a high absorbed Tiamat here?
It wouldn't surprise me. 120% of an already high defense stat.
But Masamune still being Masamune, and Ice get through there.
4 Fiends down, and it's still as sharp as ever.
And never take anything for granted after that fight, because I don't know the odds on this kind of thing, but I have seen almost always another fight after Tiamat before I get to the staircase here. I think once I got by without one.
It's very common. This floor has I believe, the second highest encounter rate. It's second only to the bridge in the floating castle.
So here's a look at our old buddy Garland. xIceblue gonna top off all the health. And if nothing crazy happens, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna be guilty of a commentator's curse. We've seen that at least twice today. But xIceblue readying up for this battle, and we'll see what happens. They'll go for the fast on the Masamune, no surprise. First hit will get off, 200 damage.
He's jumping the gun a little bit, but also very fortunate that Crack didn't take out the Black Mage before he could cast fast.
Comes Ice 3. Not too bad. Another critical hit lands against Chaos. 600. Close now. As Joey's up to Lich Revisited. Not quite enough. But the hit points are low for Chaos. Temper now added to that fast. 246 damage from the Black Belt.
And Chaos hasn't gotten very far in his spell list, so no danger of Cure 4. This looks pretty safe for Ice at this point.
Only 4 damage from the Black Belt. 600 damage, and that is a GG. How about a chat, a GG for xIceblue, and if you got one, a cheer emote of choice. That means xIceblue will take 2 out of 3 in this first round. Joey is not finished in the tournament, however. He'll go to the Garland bracket, which gives him one last chance. We've been calling it the Garland bracket because you get knocked down to it. So hopefully we will get xIceblue in here shortly.
In fact, I think he's here right now.
Hey, hey.
Well, a 146. How you feeling? First thoughts?
That ice cave, though.
2 major items in there. Hopefully we will get
that ice
xIceblue
cave
in here
though.
shortly.
So, I remember we discussed some RNG manipulation, and there was talk about how the next encounter after Kraken was a bunch of sorcerers. Are you entertaining skipping that one now?
No, I think I left it there so I can do some MS Paint strats.
We definitely appreciated it.
I think everyone enjoyed that.
How did you appreciate me hitting Tyro with a hammer?
I like that, kind of just giving him a boop on the nose on the way out.
Wow, Joey just found the power gauntlet.
Yeah, he has, in fact, been checking quite a lot of chests since he got all the required items. It's something we'll be interested to find out what he was looking for. I know he likes to have good defense coming into Temple of Fiends Revisited, but maybe he looked a little more than he needed to. It was definitely one of the difference makers. He also went to Ordeals, which I believe you skipped.
Yeah, I took the Earth Cave gamble instead of going to Ordeals because I was already right there. And it actually paid out.
In fact, you were right there because you went to Marsh Cave, which he actually skipped. But we were curious at the time what you might have been thinking after you went through Marsh and that ended up with nothing but you find the floater in Earth Cave. Did you actually think you were behind at that point, having gone to Marsh Cave?
Kinda. But I was okay with it because I found a second ribbon, which that absolutely paid off. So I was kind of okay with that.
So any major moments that had you excited throughout the run?
The 2 chests that were literally back to back with Slab and Crown. I was like, oh my god, floater is go mode.
So I think this makes you our 4th player to advance into the second round. Anything you're looking forward to with the differences in the flags, and also in the next round you get the one forced party class.
I'm okay with the one force party class. I'm actually happier that the RNG tables are going to be randomized. That actually makes me a lot happier.
Question chat had is, how about those sorcerers?
Those sorcerers were amazing. I think I spent a good 5 minutes just sipping my drink and waiting for the trance to finally wear off.
And that was after Kraken, so there was just nothing you could do but wait it out.
Yep. It actually made me kind of sad.
So we see Joey is about to take on Kraken for the second time.
Did he RNG manip anything other than TOFR or no?
We saw him use it in a few places. I can't list them for you off the top of my head, although I know he definitely did it for the Volcano.
Ah. Oh, question. How did you guys like the 0 spell list?
There were a lot of spells missing. You can see Joey actually found the tail, so he was able to pick some things up you didn't. The tail was actually in the islands near the dragons, so for what it's worth. But certainly made it interesting. I was curious to see even how Temple of Fiends was going to go without any real spells for that.
Yeah, that was a big key factor into me, actually doing the RNG manip, because I didn't have any spells, so I didn't want to get completely crushed by gas dragons. And y'all saw that I wiped the first time.
Yeah, to a pack of frost dragons, was it?
Yeah, for some reason it didn't want to run. It just was like, hey, take hits, get wrecked. So that's when I swapped my ribbon.
So here Joey goes against Tiamat 2. Looks like the Bane will be as kind to him as it was to you.
I'd like to also give Artea a shout out for giving me that cool information on fog. That definitely helped my run significantly by taking a lot less damage.
While we have a moment here, let's take care of a couple items of business. First of all, you've got the links to the runners. Both of these guys have run a lot of the Final Fantasy I randomizer lately, and I don't think that's in your plans to change too soon. So if people like what they see, they can see even more of it by hitting you up with a follow. Also, a big thank you to Speed Gaming for hosting tonight's event. We've had 2 matches on here today. Apparently even the bots are feeling the competitive spirit tonight as they race to answer to commands. So down goes Tiamat. Both of you were able to get through tonight without a war mech.
I honestly thought one was gonna show up because of like the 4 like encounters I got in one tile each time, and I was like, oh god, war mech, please.
We have actually seen one killed in the tournament so far. It's nice to see that, just for completionist's sake.
Oh, he actually found life too. Ha.
Advantages of the class change. So here we go. Joey's run against Chaos. Any particular thoughts after having gone through Chaos?
It wasn't too bad. He only hit me with 2 spells. He tried crack first turn, which that just basically gave me a free turn to hit.
Had to be a little scary at least with Fast not getting cast first, but managed to weather it.
Yeah, if Fast wouldn't have went off, it would have just been a longer fight, which he may have casted Cure for.
Tech goes down to that spell hit. Cure 4 was not in time.
To answer your question, Hataka, it depends. If you have the white shirt, then Fog 2 is better, and you can put the white shirt on some other character. If you don't have the white shirt, Invis 2 is probably going to be better just because of the it reduces the amount of times you get hit.
It's also dependent on the enemy stats as well. Evade stacks are going to do a lot more against 300% stat monsters than the flags we currently have in this round.
Yeah.
You both found Moss Immune pretty early, so that had to be a very nice find whenever you get it. And second time tonight, in under 2 hours, we see Chaos go down. So SRL times for xIceblue was 146.58. For Joey, it was 157.18. Certainly a good game put on by both players.
Very good time, though.
So again, xIceblue with this win has clinched advancing to the next round. Joey still has the second chance brackets to look forward to. Those matches will be single elimination. And thank you to all of you who have stayed up this late to enjoy a great race with us. And hoping we'll see Joey join us soon.
I think once round 1 flags are over with, everybody will be real happy that there's no manipulation anymore. Because I've been seeing a lot of complaints about manipulation.
Still waiting to see if we're going to get Joey in here.
Let's see if he'll hop in.
So Ice, I imagine in the next week you'll be doing more practice of the round 2 flags?
Yes, most definitely. I'll be doing a lot of practice on round 2 flags, so if you happen to catch my stream, and you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll definitely answer them. The only thing that's really different with round 2 flags is that the RNG table is turned on to be randomized, and enemy spells and skills are randomized, and it's slightly higher stat scaling.
And also, we'll invite people to, by all means, join us in the Discord. And races happen for this daily, multiple times. You're one of the regular participants in those.
Yeah, definitely.
And I imagine most of those this week will start to be more and more the round 2 flags. Joey, where are you?
I posted in the RSC.
One of the things I'm curious to hear from him about is he did a little different strategy for, well, now we might have him. So, Joey, sub 2 hours, good game.
That was terrible.
First thoughts other than you're happy that one's over?
This was terrible. It took me 47 minutes to beat the game. I'm so frustrated.
How did you like the gold mine of Ice Cave?
It was free. It's the second place I checked.
Yep, I checked it right after Volcano as well.
You were both running very similar strats to that. Joey, towards the end, we saw you still opening a lot of treasure chests. What, in particular, were you hunting for at that point?
I opened a lot. I only opened 10. 14 in Sky Fortress. I was looking for better armor. I had silver armor on one of my knights, and that wasn't going to cut it. It had silver shield, silver helmet. Yeah, I was just looking for a little better armor. I got it in Sky Fortress and just went, but
That was one of the major differences we saw. We also saw you take a little bit different route through the Volcano. I think you went back in 3 times, if I recall correctly.
probably more. I went into Grand Agamas. I cleared the left chest room and the right. Yeah, so 3 times. That's just my standard route through there. I've died way too many times trying to do the whole thing in one go, so I just do it that way now. It works out, but
Were you happy to see Exit?
I would have rather had Warp. Exit is a little more unforgiving for the route that I like to run, but it was better than last one, even though we did it 20 minutes faster.
Yep.
By the way, you also got the class change. Ice did not.
The class change was free.
I didn't go to Ordeals, and instead I went to Marsh and then Earth, and then I was in go mode right after that.
It was the Earth. The tail was in the Cardia Isles.
I didn't check them. I didn't have Floater. Floater was go mode for me. And Marsh Cave had a second ribbon, so that's all I really needed.
Oh, that makes me feel even worse then, that I lost by 12 minutes.
It was asked in chat when the next race is. The next race we have scheduled in the tournament is going to be tomorrow night at 7. That'll be on a different channel. Speed Gaming 2 is going to have a big one for us, a 4-person race at 8:30 tomorrow. Now, the way the 4-person race works is it's 2 matches shown simultaneously. It's actually 2 different races going on. We just happen to have all 4 runners featured at the same time. So that'll be a big one at 8:30 tomorrow. And by all means, join the Discord. You can keep up to date with everything that's going on much easier there. XIceblue, let's start with you. Any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Again, don't get discouraged just because you lost the race. It's basically the core of the randomizer. You'll win, you'll lose. It's all the draw. Yeah, practice makes perfect. I mean, I've been playing since probably about June-ish. So I mean, I still have a lot to learn in terms of like when to buy armor, when to stop checking chests, stuff like that. It's just a matter of learning that. But other than that, I mean, if y'all want to attempt to learn the randomizer, tune into my channel. I'll answer all your questions. I'll show you, basic strats, advanced strats, whatever y'all want to learn. I'm more than willing to show you guys things.
Joey, any final thoughts?
The randomizer is freaking addicting. I've been playing it for 3 weeks now. As you can clearly tell, I suck. But it's fun. Join the Discord. Everybody's super nice. And yeah, it's a big growing family.
And Edge, you put up with me in the late hour, stuck it out, we got through it. Any final thoughts from you?
Just want to say thanks again to Fiesel for hosting us on Speed Gaming. Really appreciate it. And thanks to you, Trenton, for staying up late. I'm glad you could do commentary. Really enjoyed it.
Enjoyed working with you as well. And I think all of us are still doing future matches. Joey certainly is working on the commentary, so you'll be able to hear a lot more from him. XIceblue, do we have you on some of these?
I'm currently working, crazy
Okay.
hours right now.
Fair
but
enough.
I have a match I'm going to be commentating Saturday at 7 p.m. It's going to be DD Gaming's versus Magius. I'll actually be on commentary for that one. I'll also be on vacation from work, so you guys will see me a lot more in the commentary booth.
All right. Well, again, thank you to everyone who stuck it out to the late hour to enjoy a great match between these 2 runners. They put on quite a show for us today. They pulled double duty over 4 hours of Final Fantasy Randomizer. Not quite, but something like that anyways. And we really appreciate the show that they put on for us. And we really appreciate Speed Gaming for hosting the event tonight. It was truly a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Fiesel. Thank you, everyone else. Thank you, everyone who went into making this a great event. If we didn't thank you specifically, we thank you generically, including every one of the viewers. Have a great night, everyone.